vindication or endorsement of Mamdani is a flat-out rejection of Andrew Cuomo and everything he represents.
Okay.
Everyone from left to right sees him as a deeply corrupt individual who should never be anywhere near public office again.
Okay, well, listening to all this, I can delight to say Rudy Giuliani has been listening and actually didn't really want to leave us. So we've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back.
He listened to Cenk Uygur about what he had to say about Rudy Giuliani just making shit up, and he decided to come back to set the record straight, quote unquote, right? If you didn't see the other part, I don't know when it aired, like days ago. Giuliani basically said that he's a communist and he's Hamas. Mamdani is, that is. He's a communist and he's Hamas and he's Iranian, whatever, and he's Palestinian, you know, all of the big evil people that he fears the most. It's absurd and disgusting and vile, honestly.
So just to clarify what a few of the
Rudy,
panelists...
by the way, you and I have exchanged a lot of mean tweets. I want to apologize. I don't know. You blocked me. I think you were very angry. I just want to take this opportunity to extend an olive branch.
Wow. Okay, Rudy.
Well, I'm not aware of them. I wonder if they were as excessive as the original attack on me by I thought my friend there. Highly personal and really nasty.
Oh,
who's he talking about?
Wasn't as bad as Cenk's. Yeah.
But in any
It wasn't as bad as Cenk's. Jesus Christ.
event, I mean, he's
Giuliani is a scumbag, a vile sack of shit, honestly. Like, he is a bad person. No one should be apologizing to Rudy.
actually quoted. I have it here at two different events using the word globalized the Intifada.
He never said that. He never said that. Or I guess Rudy Giuliani decided to go back and, like, look for the examples of him saying that. You won't find it.
A candidate, Zoran. And then he weasels out of it by, well, I mean, just go look at it as you were just told. I mean, try something like
Rudy,
reading.
you're missing the
So
distinction.
read it.
He doesn't say it, but he also doesn't condemn it.
He defends it. Is that a lot better?
He did condemn it, though. He did. He did condemn it. What are you talking about? He said, I don't use language like that. I would never use language like that. But I'm not going to be the language police over here and tell people what to say and what not to say. All Muslims are Hamas, apparently. Yeah, in Rudy's mind, absolutely. If you remember, he got famous in the first place because he was the mayor during 9/11.
Or just yesterday on Meet the Press, when he was speaking with Kristen Walker, he defended the phrase again. Come on, it looks really bad.
He did not defend the phrase. He did not defend it. And besides, where did the phrase come from? I know you're thinking to yourself, well, somebody said it and he was listening and then he agreed with him, right? No, it was just completely made up out of the ether, out of nothing. It was fabricated. It's not real. It was never real. He never said anything even approximating that. Some Democratic strategist said to him, will you condemn the phrase globalize the Intifada? And he said, did somebody say that? No one said that.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
It's not something you
He
should
doesn't
say.
use it. There's a difference.
He defends the
There's a
phrase.
The key point is he doesn't condemn. He doesn't condemn it. Is the point, right? So
Yes, he does. I can't believe Cenk even said that. Why did you give them that? He does condemn it.
he doesn't condemn it, which actually, in the modern climate, for a New York City potential mayor not to condemn a phrase like globalized intifada is a pretty big deal.
It's not, because he never said it, and he did condemn it. Jesus Christ, dude.
It's terrible. It's
Well,
damning.
the reality is he tries to redefine the Intifada as his own definition of the
No, he didn't. What are you talking about? You're just making this shit up.
Intifada. It's not violent. Well, go tell that to the thousands of people that have been killed. I used to go to Israel in the late 90s and the early 2000s when Ehud Olmert was mayor. I've been in hospitals seeing girls whose faces were ripped apart by Hamas. There was an Intifada.
Oh, please, dude. Just disgusting. The Intifada is not viewed as a bad thing necessarily. It was people in Gaza and the West Bank throwing off control of the Israeli state. This whole thing is charged with religious bigotry and everything when it doesn't have to be. Really, this boils down to two groups of people who have their own opinions and positions on things, and they both believe that they belong in that land, except one of them already lives there and the other is trying to take it for their own.
There were two of them. It killed thousands of people, and it has no other definition. And the guy's playing a sick communist game.
What communist game?
Of double speak.
Not true either.
And Cenk, let me bring Cenk. I'm going to bring Cenk back in. Hang on.
He's a total empty suit.
Let me bring Cenk back in, because another problem Mamdani may have as this goes on is he's on.
Like an empty suit for who? That implies that he's under control of somebody. Like someone's pulling the puppet strings. What strings? Who is pulling these strings?
Let me bring Cenk back in, because another problem Mamdani may have as this goes on is he's on record as saying that he wants to defund the police. He's tried to distance himself from that, but he said it. He insisted that queer liberation means defund the police. I mean, again, the idea...
Okay, I think what that means to literally everybody that says it is that they want to bring social workers in to deal with things. Like if a kid is being taken advantage of by the father, send social workers in to work with the kid instead of sending in like a cop to intimidate the kid. Don't have the cop interview the kid, for example, that type of thing. Social workers should have a much larger role. Dealing with the homelessness situation, that should be done by social workers, not by police. Police are a representation of force in society, and it's a necessary representation of force. There are people who, hit their wives, who need to be, and the wives need to be protected by a representation of force. It's necessary in some cases, but when you're dealing with homelessness or you're dealing with children or being taken advantage of by the children, the representation of force should come in to arrest the person, and that's it. They shouldn't have an interview role or even an investigative role. You know who should be doing the investigating? Detectives, not beat cops, not police. Detectives. The representation of force should have a significantly smaller role in our society than it has right now. Defund the representation of force and fund better police departments that, detective budgets or whatever. Detectives or social workers or whatever. The more often representatives of force affect society or touch society or whatever, the more often there's going to be abuse of that power.
The idea that somebody, maybe the mayor of New York, would actually have that as a quote on their record is pretty extraordinary. Is he going to be able to shake off these quotes like that, which to many New Yorkers would be complete anathema? And Rudy,
not really,
when he was mayor of New York, famously the broken windows strategy of fixing the small stuff and police everywhere and empowering them. And
Giuliani actually did fix New York City, believe it or not. He was responsible for cleaning it up, and the a lot of the techniques that he used didn't work and were damaging and dangerous and bad and took people's rights away. But a lot of the strategies he used did work to clean up the city. It was not a safe city in the 70s, 80s, and 90s at all. And then Giuliani came in, and he did clean it up.
Resourcing them and so on. And now you've got a guy who wants to defund the police.
He also accuses them of being racist.
So
he also accuses them of being racist when they are a non-majority police department. There's nothing racist about the New York City Police Department. The last time de Blasio did that, he got 2 cops killed, and that's what.
Okay, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but I don't. Yeah, what does that have to do with anything? Like, I'm having trouble believing a word out of the dude's mouth, to be perfectly honest.
Led to their turning their back on him. Yeah. There was a riot in Baltimore, and de Blasio, like this other crazy communist, went out and said, "Oh, New York is racist too." And a guy came up from Baltimore and he shot 2 detectives, assassinated them 4
Oh, just bullshit, dude. Rudy makes shit up so much. Come on, man.
days later, and that's why the cops turned their back on that guy.
All right, check.
These people are dangerous, and they get people.
No, he's just not going to shut up.
People killed, and you know who gets killed? The black people get killed as a result. Yes,
not
no.
just black
You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
All right, let's all talk at once. Cenk, you go.
Okay, so a bunch of misnomers there. First of all, it was the highest voter turnout in a Democratic primary in a long time. I was part of the AOC campaign. We were counting on low voter turnout. Not in this case. The tide has changed. The younger people, like Geraldo said, are voting for change, and middle class is voting for change. So you guys play word games. But now to the main question that Piers was asking. Look, there's some of his policies that I don't agree with. I don't agree with defund the police. I wouldn't have had government-run grocery stores at the top of my list. I just wouldn't have, right?
Government-run grocery stores is actually a phenomenally good thing. Here's the thing. I don't think they should be the only grocery stores around, obviously, but they should be available. You know, when communists or socialists or whatever, when things are going to get bad, the groups that these people hate aren't going to, like, control prices or whatever that way. Like, Hitler didn't create government-run stores to deal with the rationing problem. He created ration cards. He gave people ration cards. You had to, everybody got a certain amount of rations of different things every month, and they could go to the grocery store and pick them up. That is how it's dealt with. Government-run grocery stores, on the other hand, are more like, government-run anything is intended to take the price motive out of it, or the profit motive out of it. Healthcare needs innovation. I don't think it's wise for healthcare to be fully government-run. But the government can be the single payer of healthcare. It can be the person that pays the bill at the end of the day. Because you know who's profiting off of us when we go to the doctor? The doctor's office is profiting, and the insurance company is profiting. They're both profiting. We need to remove that incentive, that profit motive from the insurance company. Why the fuck are we giving money to the insurance company of all people? The government should be running this because it's an inelastic demand. We don't have a choice. If we need an appendectomy, we're going to die if we don't get it. It's not the kind of thing where we can push it off and say, I'll save up for a year and then I'll get it. It doesn't work that way. Either we get one or we die. That's an inelastic demand. The government should pay for inelastic demands, and we should pay into the government to make sure that there's no profit motive and everybody is covered. Now, for food, we die if we don't have food. But I don't believe that we should have all government-run grocery stores. I think it's fine to have, like, some government-run grocery stores, and by doing that, it will keep the prices competitive. It'll keep people from price gouging because they know, hey, there's a shortage of strawberries in the area right now, so I know I can charge $50 for a bushel of them if I want to, and there's nothing anybody can do about it because I'm the only one that has them. Well, if we get a government-run grocery store in to maintain, like a shop there and keep food available and all of that, then the other stores around are going to keep their prices at a reasonable level too, so that they don't get pushed out of the market. I think having some government-run grocery stores is fine. And I think that we absolutely require single-payer healthcare now. We should have had that decades ago. We should have had it from the very start, honestly. There are some things that there just should not be a profit motive for, and in my personal opinion, I mean, there should definitely be competition. In my opinion, there should, that should be food, that should be medical insurance, things like that.
And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just wouldn't have prioritized it.
I may not have prioritized it either.
So free buses, that's super interesting. I want to see how it works. These are not my policies, but the Democrats in New York elected him. And so let's let him give it a shot. Right. So in terms of, defunding the police, again, let's be careful. And he is careful. He at least says it the right way. I don't like the phrase at all. But what he's talking about is moving some portion of the money towards social services. So, okay, you could say, I don't want to try that. That's fine. You've got a general election coming up. But a lot of his economic policies are for change. That's the third issue that I mentioned, Piers, in the beginning. And so overall, I'm for change. I'm against the establishment. So if this brother wants to try the grocery stores, he wants to try free buses, etc., Let him take a shot at it. We've already seen what the establishment has to offer, and it's nothing but pulp. It's driven this country into the ground. I don't want another Cuomo. I don't want another Adams. I want change.
Well, it's really, well, okay. It's really, let me just, I want to ask Geraldo actually first, then come to you, Lindy, because it's interesting actually that what Cenk just said, because the conservative writer, Rod Dreher, likened Mamdani's win to Trump's. He said New York left-wing voters, quotes, lashed out against what they regard as a failed liberal establishment, electing a charismatic populist who promised a clear break with the past.
That's absolutely true. 100%. I don't like the framing that he is like Donald Trump, because he isn't in any way, shape, or form. But he is a left-wing populist figure. I don't really like the word populist in this context, but I think in the most technical sense, that might be what he is. And his election was born out of unhappiness with the state of politics in the United States right now. So that's absolutely true.
The right can shake our heads and laugh at how dumb New York liberals and progressives were to choose a candidate as politically inexperienced and radical as Mamdani.
You hearing this? These people talking about political inexperience. Donald Trump literally had never set foot in the White House aside from, going to meet people because he was famous. That's it. He's never had any kind of role in any sort of politics whatsoever up until he ran for president in 2016. Inexperienced? We're talking inexperienced? I think that people who lack political experience can do the job. I think that they're capable of doing the job. And I think that it's, I think they can learn as they go, and it's mostly okay. As long as they're willing to learn and listen to people in power or who have been in power, or listen to people with experience and things like that. But Donald Trump, for example, is different from Mamdani in that he believes that he's correct about everything and he already knows everything and he's not willing to learn. And also, Mamdani isn't a radical nutcase. Trump is... Oh, and he's not corrupt either. Trump is corrupt and a radical nutcase.
But don't miss that this was also a referendum on the Democratic Party itself. And, I do remember, Geraldo, when in 2015 Donald Trump came down the famous, elevator saying, I'm going to run for president, everyone mocking and laughing and saying he's got no experience, is a ridiculous candidate, quoting all sorts of incendiary things he'd said before, blah, 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 blah. And he won. And he's now won again. So is it mad for the Democrats to actually go for a young, kind of their version of Trump?
Mamdani is not the left-wing version of Donald Trump. Somebody who would be the left-wing version of Donald Trump, you'd have to find someone who is in it for power very clearly and inexperienced and also full communist, not pretend communist, but actual communist. Because Donald Trump is as far right as it gets in the political realm that we're in today.
I think will, in New York at least, mostly be affected by people's wallets, by people's pocketbooks. There is no way that the middle class, the upper middle class, the strivers, the hard workers, the college-educated business creators, there's no way that they're going to tolerate more tax, more income tax. And to think that you're going to have free transit and free food and free
trans? Is that what he said? Free trans? Who is trans? Are they imprisoned? Why do we need to free this person?
housing, free everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. My goodness, haven't we learned?
No, he's correct. There isn't. But there's something called taxpayer lunch, taxpayer funded. Kids at school can get taxpayer funded lunches, for example. That's taxpayer funded. That's what that is. We need taxpayer funded medical insurance.
There's no way to have
He just said
socialism in a city that
Wait, I'm sorry. What did Cenk say?
there's no way to have
He just said
socialism in a city.
I'm sorry. Hang on.
Free housing, free everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. My goodness, haven't we learned? There's no way to have
He just said
socialism in a city
I can't understand what he's saying, unfortunately.
that needs, in a city that needs the vibrancy of Wall Street to create the jobs. It's not just the brokers it's the grocery guy on the corner of Wall Street. It's the Uber driver, et cetera, et cetera. If you take the tax base of New York and attack it anymore, it will be a failed city like so many others. And it's the last thing. We have to embrace the police. We have to embrace the job.
Absolutely. Let's embrace the representatives of force in society and help them do the job that they need to do, and keep them in that corner and let other people do the job that they can do without being representatives of force in society.
Creators. We have to try to lower taxes.
He just said free buses. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I don't really see the difference between free buses and free trains. It's all the same metro system. It all costs exactly the same. You use the same like cards and the same payment system and everything. So fundamentally, there's no difference. This is spoken like somebody who really never lived in New York City. I mean, talking about like Cenk and Geraldo. And I think that the trains and the buses should be, oh my God, I forgot to equip people. Oh, that sucks. And I think the trains and the buses should be free. I'm sorry, not free. Taxpayer funded. They should be taxpayer funded, absolutely.
In the richer, whiter neighborhoods, so they don't go to Scarsdale and other communities, upscale communities that don't tax nearly as much. And in terms of the cops, my goodness, I voted for Giuliani and Bloomberg before him, and the change in the city over those 5 terms was extraordinary.
He's correct. Absolutely. New York City absolutely did get cleaned up in large part thanks to Giuliani's policies. That's true. That's why he was so popular. And it's really honestly very sad to see Giuliani have fallen so far. Well, really, no, just reveal himself to be who he was all along, honestly. It's not even falling too far or anything. It's just showing us who he was all along. It's really disappointing.
It was a functioning, workable, integrated city where the goals and the dreams of socialists were realized with the fruits of capitalism. So I think that this kid is way, way off the mark. But I also believe that if all these people run on independent lines, as promised now, Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, he could win.
Yeah.
Curtis Sliwa. I don't know if you know Sliwa, but he's the only Republican running in New York for mayor. And he's been running for mayor in New York City for like ever. In the 70s, he formed a vigilante group called the Guardian Angels or something, where they were going around on the subways and beating the shit out of people. And famously, on film not too long ago, he was walking around New York City and saw somebody with darker skin, and I don't remember what happened. He yelled, "Immigrant!" or something, and then beat the shit out of that guy randomly. Turns out he wasn't an immigrant. It's just some dude, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. You got to look it up. And Sliwa is so weird, dude. He lives in a studio apartment with like 20 cats, literally like 20 cats. And he's lived there for like ever. He has he calls it his little cat rescue or whatever. Wait, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. During a Fox News interview, Sliwa...
It was supposed to
Hey, all right. During a Fox News interview, Sliwa is giving this interview. Check this out.
be a made-for-TV moment. Yesterday, Fox News was interviewing Curtis Sliwa, the head of the New York City-based vigilante group known for targeting migrants. And they were discussing migrants in New York City when suddenly this happened.
Guys have just taken down one of the migrant guys right here on the corner, 42nd
That's him.
and 7th, while all this
Can you
is
pan the
taking-
camera?
They've taken over. They've taken over. You'd like the camera over there if at all possible.
Yep. You got your key open, guys.
It was literally just some dude.
It's out of control. Out of control.
So later, he was brought back for an update.
Wow, she's talking super quietly. She's like, right? Is this like ASMR we're listening to right now?
So later, he was brought back for an update.
Well, he had been shoplifting first. The Guardian Angels spotted them, stopped him. He resisted. and let's just say we gave him a little pain compliance. His mother back in Venezuela felt the vibrations. He's sucking concrete. The cops scraped him off the asphalt. He's on his way to jail.
And of course, they discovered after he went to jail and he was processed, he didn't do shit to anybody. He was innocent. Throwing people on the ground as a vigilante group and like getting cops to arrest them for nothing. This is why we don't have vigilante groups, because you're fucking idiots that don't know, that don't have like access to investigative materials or like criminal records or DNA tests or any of the other stuff that police have access to, that detectives do have access to. You're just going around half-cocked, ready to pull a trigger at any moment.
So according to the New York City Police Department, none of that is true. Senior media reporter here at CNN, Oliver Darcy, is here to tell us what actually happened there. Oliver, Fox News very willingly stepping into this setup.
Yeah, and I think this is actually really representative, Abby, of how the Fox News universe and really the right-wing media universe at large operates. They hype a story, right? Hours later, the story falls apart. You know, in this case, there is no migrant, according to the New York City Police Department. There was no shoplifting, according to the New York City Police Department. This guy was just interfering, I guess, with the camera shot, and there was an altercation is what happened, according to, again, the police department. And so the story falls apart, and then they just move on.
Pretend like
they just pretend it didn't happen, right? Like, so Fox News was hyping it this morning on the front page of their website. The story just gets quietly edited. You know, they don't put a correction on it. You know, Sean Hannity, I was watching tonight, he doesn't mention that this entire episode that was viral on his show was built on a lie. He just moves on, and he's going back to more anti-immigrant rhetoric, just a different story.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And this random person just caught up in the middle of it. So earlier today, we just showed this video.
Well, there you go. It's so stupid, dude. That's Sliwa. That's who this guy is. And again, he's been running for mayor for like ever, and he has like 20 cats. The 20 cats thing in a studio apartment is probably the most charming thing about him, though, honestly.
Video of Senator James Lankford talking about a conservative commentator threatening him for working on this border deal. Now we know who that person is. Who is it?
It's Jesse Kelly, and he's this.
All right. Anyway, that's him. That's Sliwa right here.
Second and seventh, while all this
Can you
is
pan the camera?
They've taken over.
He's very New Yorker. I'll give him that. He's very New Yorker. I knew a ton of people like him. Hey, what are you gonna do, huh? Nothing.
You could have the first young Muslim, mayor of the.
If you've never been in a fight in your life, get prepared to do that in New York City. You just be walking down the street and somebody shoulder check you and then turn around and punch you in the face for no reason. Yeah, I've dealt with fighting and stuff my whole life, so it's not something I'm used to, but can take some people by surprise. Let me give you some advice. You go in to visit New York City, don't look at anybody. Don't look at anybody, no matter what. If they're talking to you, ignore them. Look forward, look down, look wherever. Look at the pretty buildings, not at people, because they're, everything there is a scam. They're trying to sell you something, trying to get up in your face or something like that. Mind your own business. Be prepared to, on occasion, if you're in Times Square, see people whip their junk out and start pissing in the road. That happens because people get drunk. And walk in a straight line. Do not walk side by side. 2 people walking side by side is okay. 3, you're going to piss somebody off. 4, 5, you're getting shoulder checked. It's going to happen. And don't be afraid. There's another piece of advice. Don't be afraid. There was a guy who's very obviously a tourist. I'm walking along through Times Square area, and this isn't very common. I don't want anyone to think that it's like dangerous. It's really not. It's the safest place I've ever lived in my entire life. But I was walking along, and like 3 or 4 dudes are like acting like fools and just pick somebody random and start getting up in his face. And he's like, "What's going on? What's that? What? I didn't do anything." And they're yelling at him. So I put myself between them and him and like put my arm around him and just like said, "All right, let's keep walking. Just keep going. Just ignore them. They're going to try to get up in your face sometimes, not very often, but it happens. Just ignore them. And don't be afraid of a confrontation. Prison rules, got it, pretty much." Really, it's super uncommon that you have to deal with that. And it's only in Times Square. If you're on the Upper East Side, you're perfectly safe. You got nothing to worry about, ever. I've never, ever honestly felt unsafe in New York City in my life, except maybe that one time when they were like yelling at that dude or whatever. It's not really a problem. Again, like it was a problem back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but it was cleaned up very much.
The biggest Jewish city in North America. It could happen, and it could happen particularly if the sore of Gaza continues to
the sore of Gaza
deep.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Gaza continues to deep.
What a horrifying, disturbing framing. Why would you say that? Oh, God.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lindy.
By the way, wouldn't that be beautiful, guys?
Well, actually, it would be an amazing thing. It would be an amazing thing. And I actually thought Cenk, that the way Geraldo framed it earlier, that hundreds of young Jewish people, right, male and female, who actually do not share the view that you just, of their parents and grandparents, that you have to have just blind, devoted loyalty to Israel, particularly if its government is behaving in the way that it's currently behaving.
Yeah, Israel has put a lot of money into convincing people around the world that it's the right thing to be in favor of Israel no matter what. No questions asked. That's it, bottom line. And that mindset is the result of the opinion, the position that Israel is an ethno-state. Israel is a country that belongs to one specific subset of people, and others are less worthy of citizenry. If you're Arab, you don't deserve to be citizens there. That's the point. It's such a toxic, insane position.
In Gaza.
And they voted for a Muslim mayor. And isn't that a beautiful thing about America?
The 70s and the 80s, I blame the lead in the gas. In all seriousness, that's actually 100% real. There's a lot more lead in gas. Well, there was lead in gas. I don't think we have that anymore. And there were serial killers all over the place in New York City back then. Famous serial killers. The Zodiac killer and stuff. You know, a bunch of people were absolutely insane back then. At least in part because of the lead in the gasoline. Like, it went down dramatically, the number of serial killers in New York City after gas was switched to unleaded. Also, it was just straight up dangerous at the time. It just wasn't safe.
I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing about America, that we don't care about religion, that young Jewish voters and young Christian and Muslim voters could vote for a Muslim candidate because they believe in his economic message and his message of justice? That's what America is supposed to be all about, that we forget about this race and religion stuff and vote on the substance.
What lies? What lies is he telling?
You talk about him implementing change, but all of his promises are lies. When we can go through and debunk every single one. For example, he says he wants to offer free buses, but guess what's going to happen then? If you don't charge anything for buses, there's no funding for transportation.
Oh my God, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't like insulting people. I'm morally opposed to it, but this is so stupid. She knows. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to give her the benefit of the doubt. It's not stupidity. It's just lies. It's straight up deception, right? Obviously, when they say free, what they mean is taxpayer funded. Obviously. Nobody believes that you just shouldn't charge to use the bus anymore ever, and nobody should ever get any money from it whatsoever. It means taxpayer funded.
Coming in. So how are you going to maintain your infrastructure fleet? And if you control rent, the supply of housing is going to decrease and the quality will decrease as well. And most importantly, though,
the rent decrease, I think they're talking about rent-controlled apartments. That's a unique thing that exists in New York City, really. I don't think it really exists many other places. But the idea is that the idea is a lot of these rental apartments are owned by major corporations, and they're owned outright. They don't, they could literally charge $100 a month and it would be fine because they don't have to pay anything on it because they own it. It's paid for. So rent-controlled apartments in New York City are basically apartments that are not allowed to raise their rent beyond a certain point. And it's important It's necessary for New York City because these corporations are going to gouge people until everyone is priced out of the market. And keeping the rent-controlled apartment costs low leads to every other apartment being cheaper because they have to compete with the rent-controlled apartments. So rent-controlled apartments are a good thing, and keeping them low is a good thing. But, she's going to lie about it, of course. Anyone surprised?
Who's going to pay for it when the governor of New York herself, Kathy Hochul, vowed that she would not be raising taxes? So every single thing he said was actually a lie. Either he knew it.
Okay, Hochul controls New York state taxes. I could be wrong. I believe that the mayor controls city taxes, right? Is that right?
Or he doesn't. I don't know which is better. Is it deception
No, it's not a lie.
I'm wondering, does she realize that there are city taxes? She has to, right?
Well, I just told you. I gave
Lindy,
you
it's
three
not a lie.
examples of things that could just cannot happen because the governor is not raising taxes. He can't operate in a vacuum. Okay, not everyone is
Lindy,
communist.
Well, hang on. Let me just look. Not everyone is communist, she says. Please. Who controls the NYC tax rate? Okay, so it's coordinated through a process involving both the state of New York and New York City officials. The New York City Council holds legislative authority to pass local laws setting tax rates and brackets. So it doesn't have anything to do with Hochul. The mayor and the budget office draw up New York City's fiscal blueprint. And yeah, I'm not actually seeing... Yeah, there is no... Wait. New York State determines constitutionally allowable limits, sales tax base, and approves major changes. So there you go. It's perfectly... the New York City mayor and the council controls it.
You have to partner with other people in the government and collaborate. It's a whole of government approach.
So,
it's not
Lindy,
a microcosm.
You're saying you disagree with his approach, but to say that it's a lie doesn't make sense. No, he really does want free buses, and he has a plan for free buses. Now, you can say, hey, I don't think that plan is going to work, and I think it's going to have negative consequences. Well, good.
Again, free is her framing. They should be saying taxpayer-funded buses, not free buses, in my opinion.
Good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally work out. And in fact, there are different ways to finance.
Okay, this is really annoying. Just one at a time, please.
Have negative consequences. Well, good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally work out. And in fact, there are different ways to finance it.
Okay, I got what she said. With all due respect, I think he's smart enough to know that people like Hochul would never raise taxes. Now, what did he say?
Consequences. Well, good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally work out. And in fact, there are different ways to finance it.
Got it. And he said, maybe we're going to find out. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe this is a good way to finance it or whatever. Interesting. People talk over each other in these types of events because they don't like what the other person is saying and they don't want others to hear it. And it's kind of a scumbag tactic in one man's humble opinion.
I think he went into the campaign knowing that he was offering false promises to the New York people. Another thing that
They're not false promises. He can raise the taxes.
Find extremely alarming is saying that he said his ultimate goal is to seize the means of production.
I'm sorry? He said what? Let's find out. His ultimate goal is to seize the means of production. I've never heard him ever say that. Let's see. Young Democratic Socialists of America?
Right now, right? If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt.
Hold up. Wait, I'm just trying to find it. Let's just jump back a little bit and see. I think this is it right here.
Remember what it is that we are fighting for. And to remember that our agenda is an agenda that must not be dictated by calculus, but by conviction. And what I mean by that is that the many things that we believe, some of them are already popular in this moment right now, right? If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But then there are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production, where we do not have the same level of support.
Okay, I'll take it. Yeah, I will accept that. He did, in fact, say that. Sure. Seizing the means of production and supply is a term that's used oftentimes by socialists or by actual communists who, what they mean when they say it is, the means of production and supply in society right now are privately owned. So the way that we produce goods and our supply chain, like the grocery stores and the factories, are owned privately. Kroger or Walmart are owned by like the Waltons or whatever. Factories are owned by whoever, Jeff Bezos, whatever other thing. Seizing the means of production and supply in this context, in this conversation with the Young Democratic Socialists of America, means worker owned. So with nonprofit organizations, you have a board, right? Like 501c3 nonprofits. And this board votes on who gets paid what. And they vote on like every decision all the way up the chain. And every employee votes on every other employee's boss and every other employee's pay and everything else. That's employee owned. There is no owner in that situation. It's the workers that own that control that, like, that organization. It's the workers that control that. And in a properly socialist system, the workers would be given a share of the company. And if the company performs well that year, then they get more money. They're worth more because the stock went up, for example. That's what seizing the means of production and supply means. It's worker owned and controlled. But it's also used in the context of communism. The state seized the means of production and supply. Like, Russia now controls the grocery stores and the factories and the everything, for example. The Soviet Union does. And, this Red Scare, this freakout that's existed over communism since for 100 years or more, it has contributed to fear over the term seizing the means of production and supply. We should absolutely seize the means of production and supply for the workers, not for the state, for the workers. Like, the people that work at Facebook should be able to vote on their own pay and their own bosses, it seems to me. Like a nonprofit, operate like a nonprofit. I would love that. But saying seize the means of production and supply, that's a really easy way to demonize people, to demonize somebody, for them to say something like that. So she got him fair and square. I'll give her that. She got him. He did say it. He did say that one, not the others, not all of that bullshit about, he wants to globalize the intifada and all of that. He didn't say that, but he absolutely said this.
This is something straight out of Animal Farm right there. It has no place in the United States of America.
He certainly has. He's got a lot of quotes on his track record.
He really doesn't, though. He really doesn't. He doesn't have a lot of quotes on his track record. Half of them are like completely made up.
I want to pivot just before we finish this. Rudy, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump, because you could argue the last 2 or 3 weeks have been the best, really, of his entire time as president, first and second term combined. You've got this extraordinary strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities and a ceasefire coming when people did not anticipate that happening so quickly. He's got NATO to stump up to 5% of GDP on individual spending, a massive win at the Supreme Court, of course. Peace deal in Africa. He brought peace between India and Pakistan when that.
No, he didn't. What the hell are you talking about? This guy doesn't believe this, does he?
Individual spending, a massive win at the Supreme Court, of course. Peace deal in Africa. He brought peace between India and Pakistan when that.
I think he does.
Was flaring up. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Gaza. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Ukraine. If we end up at the end of the year and there is peace in Ukraine, there is peace in Gaza, and all the other things I've mentioned here, not to mention the southern border has pretty much stopped now having anyone coming over illegally, and the economy, if that is purring away as well, given that the stock market's pretty much back where it was before the tariff war started. So he's obviously pleasing the markets. if you put all that together, this could be a stunning, successful year for Trump.
Well, Piers knows a lot of ifs, but they're all ifs that he's aiming toward. And I think people, because of their insanity about him, haven't recognized that there's a different Donald Trump since Butler County. Much more serious, much more concerned about the future, much more concerned about life and death, and frankly, much more spiritual.
Yeah.
It's a different Donald Trump than the one Geraldo and you and I grew up with.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Cenk, I mean, putting aside the fact you can't stand him, do you acknowledge he's had a lot of wins?
He hasn't, and none of those things happened. He didn't bring peace to the Middle East. He didn't bring peace to Pakistan and India or any of that shit. It is delusion that these people just live in delusion.
Look, I give
Brother, he asked Cenk, you got gummy bears in your ear, Giuliani? Do you not know what the word Cenk means? Or do you not know what it means when people ask Cenk a question? Do you think that the word Cenk actually means Rudy?
He's had a lot of wins.
look, I give
That's for
credit.
Cenk, Rudy. That's for
Rudy,
Cenk.
that one's for me too. Yeah.
Rudy, that one's for me too.
So look, I give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, give him credit.
Yeah, Cenk should just talk over him now. Completely ignore Rudy and keep on going.
On some things. So look, I think that the budget bill's a disaster. I think that it's going to pass and it's going to create $4 trillion deficit. And they always give away tax cuts for the rich and then go, oh, golly gee, I don't know how we wound up with such a big debt. It's because of Republicans who passed these giant tax cuts. And I can...
Absolutely. This is called starve the beast strategy. Starve the beast. The idea is Republicans have wanted to destroy the U.S. government for like ever. And they haven't had the capability because they have to work with Democrats. They can't get anything done without Democrats agreeing, at least some. So they do this strategy called starve the beast, where they just cut taxes into the ground, cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes, until there's literally nothing left to spend. There's like no income. The tax cuts that Trump just pushed through will add $4 trillion to the debt. $4 trillion to the national debt over 10 years. Because he cut taxes for the rich. That's it. This isn't like, oh, we need to spend this money for this or that. No, it's literally just adding debt. That's it. That's the only thing it's doing. So the point is that we are in this situation now solely and strictly because the filthy rich want to be filthy richer. That's it.
And I don't like Marines in the streets. There's a million things that I criticize Donald Trump on that, and he deserves that criticism. But the proof's going to be in the pudding, right? So if he walks back all the tariffs, as he's in the middle of doing now, he closes the border, and this is the critical part. If he gets a two-state solution, which just sounds so unbelievable, right? But if he gets that to happen, then there's no way that you could stop his popularity. Because at that point, he will be a peace president. He probably will win a Nobel Peace Prize. And it'll cement his legacy. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. But that's a giant if, right?
Sure.
But if he allows Israel, which is much more likely, if he allows Israel to continue the slaughter in Gaza, he continues having them agitate for war in Iran, and he continues with the tariffs, he continues with Marines in the streets and National Guard in the streets, et cetera, then he's going to continue to be more and more unpopular. So the jury is very much out right now.
All right, Geraldo, I thought Rudy hit on something there. Rudy has slipped off into the night, I think, but thank you. Unexpected bonus to have him return.
A bonus, you think? Okay.
The thing you said, though, about Trump being a changed man since the assassination attempt, I've definitely detected that when I've talked.
Like, the thing is, if anybody does any less than a one-state solution, a democratic solution in Israel/Gaza/Palestine, if there's anything short of a one-state solution, then they don't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for it. Bottom line.
Him. I also think he's a man who got a second lease at life, a second lease at the presidency, and he's on a mission, a real fast-track mission to get stuff done, because he knows come the midterms that things may slow down. He might get paralyzed in terms of his ability to get stuff through. So he's on a mission. in these first 2 years, I think, to get as much done as he possibly can and to do it in a pretty blunt and often quite savage way, because he knows from his first term that if you don't do that, you won't get stuff done.
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I disagree because I believe that his draconian policies toward undocumented immigrants, in this country, not the border.
I'm sorry, step back here.
Blunt and often quite savage way, because he knows from his first term that if you don't do that, you won't get stuff done.
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I disagree because I believe that his draconian policies toward undocumented immigrants in this country, not the border's fine, sealed the border, but the people who are here, who have proven to be law-abiding and hardworking and God-fearing and family-oriented.
Wait, God-fearing? What does that have to do with anything?
What they are living in terror now. I'll tell you right now, Piers, I've never seen anything like it, particularly Hispanic. It hits close to home. It is, you can't find workers now, service people.
So Geraldo is saying that we should not be deporting random people then. Am I picking this up correctly?
The Hamptons are in panic over, our affluent holiday spa in the eastern end of Long Island now. Can't find Mexicans to come and work there. It's shocking.
You know, it sounds like super racist, but this is absolutely true. Like, the Mexicans or undocumented immigrants or immigrants, period, were the underpinning of our economy. They were responsible for like the bottom $100 billion like annually of our economy, with construction work and with house cleaning and laundry services and everything else. And these people, Trump, straight up came in and removed the bottom half of our economy. Not half. The bottom $100 billion of our economy. Just took it out completely. And do you know why immigrants were doing those jobs? Because nobody else wants to do those jobs. Because they're miserable, because they're underpaid. The only reason they get away with doing those jobs is because they're so fucking terrible. These people know they can't hire anybody legitimate, and they can't hire anybody above board on paper, because nobody would do it. So all of this stuff about like immigrants stealing jobs, it's all nonsensical trash.
And it's awful. In terms of his spirituality, just very, very briefly.
What does this have to do with anything? Why are we talking about this dude's religious beliefs?
He's been always extremely easy to underestimate. He has all kinds of enemies everywhere he turns, but he has gone through the list of achievements that you listed. There is so impressive. It's historic, and he's a slam dunk, I think, for the Nobel Prize. Particularly if he get Gaza and Ukraine, if he can figure those out, then God bless him, he deserves it, absolutely.
Yeah, Lindy.
No, he doesn't deserve it unless, in my opinion, he stops war settles the feud completely, settles it completely. Like, there's no fighting, not in 3 years, not in 2 years, not in 5 years. It's settled. That is when maybe he would deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. And he doesn't care about the fighting or the dying, obviously. He doesn't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for any of this stuff.
I mean, I thought Geraldo made a good point there. I don't understand about the deportation policy, why they didn't stick to what they originally said they were going to start with, which is just kick all the criminals out, because that seemed to have universal support. Excuse me, support. If you were here undocumented in America and you committed a crime, that's it, you're gone. Everyone would have cheered that. It's the fact that they've expanded it very quickly, and they've let people sort of slip through the net where it clearly looks unfair or there's a lack of due process. That's now become to dominate the narrative.
Pierce, I think I'm going to say something that will probably surprise you. I don't think he's gone hard enough on immigration. I think
for some reason, that didn't surprise me, actually.
He should do more. I think anyone who comes to this country illegally should not be here. As a naturalized American myself, I'm extremely pissed off that millions of people have just stormed across the southern border willy-nilly.
That didn't happen. Okay. Do you know why there's a hole in the southern border. Do you know why that's there? So that refugees can come in through a humanitarian corridor. That's what that is, a humanitarian corridor. So refugees can come in through this corridor and apply for sanctuary because they've been so mistreated completely, because they're fleeing for their lives. That's not them sneaking by anything or tricking this or that or whatever. Absolute nonsense and vile, disgusting trash.
Completely desecrating our laws and our immigration system.
BS. This is honestly disgusting. She is a disgusting human being.
How is that fair? And I think that's one of the reasons why Democrats lost, because they don't realize how many Americans who came here as immigrants they pissed off by coddling these illegal aliens.
But what about Geraldo's point that already people are struggling now because so many people are being deported and there's a terror of being deported? And you know, there's clearly a qualitative difference between somebody who's in the country illegally, who commits a crime, and somebody who maybe came over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, has had kids in America, has got a job, is paying taxes. These are two different cases, aren't they?
So we should triage, but they
and
also broke our
one
laws.
statistic.
What is the point of having laws if they're just broken? Okay, if we should have a sensible system, if you want to come to America, you got to be able to contribute to the success of this country.
Please let me get one second.
All right, let Geraldo respond.
My family and I came here. I came to this amazing country.
God bless your family. So did all of our families. God bless them. 42% of our agricultural
She's just not going to let him talk.
workers are undocumented. And nobody disagrees with that statistic. 42% of the people who till our fields, who reap our crops, who feed us, 42% are undocumented. They're not the tabloid 1 in a million who commits a heinous crime.
My point is that we should triage. Yes, Pierce, that we should prioritize the criminals, but anyone who comes here illegally does not have a right to be in this country.
No, of course, but
I'm sorry, dude. Her face is just something else. It is a wild-looking face, and it is hard to get past. I'm struggling.
The problem with that is that there are apparently up to 80 million people who are undocumented in the United States. You're going to throw them all out? I mean, that seems to me a ridiculous aspiration.
We don't have the resources to throw them all out, but my personal view is that you should be respectful to the laws and regulations.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think you can't throw out 80 million people, particularly in a country, Cenk, which is founded on immigrants. Cenk.
Yeah, so I'm also a naturalized citizen, and my family came here because we love this country.
Think they came here from Turkey?
And if you saw America the way that I see it, I think you'd love it even more. So I get it that people are frustrated that people are coming in illegally, but they didn't come here. The great majority of them didn't come here for anything but economic opportunity for their families. So look, people want to close the border, and Trump has done a good job of closing the border. Credit where credit is due. That is what people vote.
Why are you giving credit to something so heinous? Why? What's the bad thing about having immigrants here exactly? What is the bad thing about it? Can you tell me why that's bad in the first place? There is no reason why anybody should want to get rid of immigrants other than one singular thing. There's one reason, and that reason is racism. That's it. They don't hurt the economy. They help the economy. When people are added to an economy, it makes it larger. It makes our GDP bigger. There is no downside unless you have racism on the brain. That's it.
Voted for. But I think Joe Rogan is right. They did not, and I think Geraldo's right. They did not vote for ICE to go in the middle of the country, in the middle of our cities, and uproot people that have been here 10 years, 20 years, that are doing super hard work. We should have a reasonable, sane immigration policy where we have a pathway to citizenship. We should acknowledge that we need these workers, and we should get them decent wages and a decent policy, by the way, and close the border. Do it right. Instead, what's happening now is we have undocumented immigration mainly because of corporate power. They want to be able to pay these guys less. They want to be able to use their work and not give them the right credit for it, or, by the way, use their work instead of Americans and not pay them the proper wages. Okay. So the real problem is corporate rule, and that's why we can't get to it.
But I would love to see you demonstrate the same sympathy to the victims of the rapes and the murders.
Oh, give it a rest, bro. All right. Undocumented immigrants are less likely to commit violent crimes than per capita than the rest of society. I remember correctly. It's not about crime. It was never about crime. These people are completely full of it, and they're looking for a reason to justify their hate and racism and bigotry, and that's it.
And we're not like justifying people who commit those crimes. She said show the same sympathy. We're showing the same sympathy. If they committed a terrible crime like that, then there will be a punishment, but that punishment isn't being deported or murdered.
Right, 100%. They shouldn't be deported if they committed a crime, right? They should stay in our legal system and face legal consequences for the laws that they broke, right?
Because if they get deported, then they're probably not going to face those laws back in their home country.
Right, and we certainly don't have any way to know for sure if they will.
By illegal aliens, by the millions of people that Biden let into.
Can I address that?
No, Biden let them in, right?
Real quick.
Unvetted.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, natural-born citizens are the most violent, most criminal group in the country compared to undocumented immigrants and naturalized citizens. So naturalized citizens like me and Lindy are 4 times safer. We commit only a quarter of the crime on average. Undocumented. Hold on, let me finish. It's almost over. Undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of natural-born citizens. So does that mean we should kick out the natural-born citizens or natural-born citizens?
Tell that to Lincoln Riley, by the way.
Oh my God! They pick out a single individual who was attacked by an undocumented immigrant, and they use that as the basis to deport and mistreat tons and tons and tons of other people who didn't do anything to anybody.
And she claims that we self-select our surveys, so less people are committing crimes because we're choosing the ones who didn't commit crimes versus the ones who did.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what she just did.
Yep. There is no honesty to be found in these people anywhere. It's honestly disgusting.
The number of criminals are the number of.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And one more thing. The Lake and Riley situation is horrific. Like, that was used as a pretext to remove people's rights in disturbing ways and to a disturbing degree. The Lake and Riley Act it should make us all really, really concerned.
Of criminals are small in each one of those categories, and demagoguing about criminality when on average undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of the people that are born here.
There you go.
It's just demagoguery.
The one thing I would like
driving towards.
Lindy, we got to wrap up, I'm afraid. But
you're an immigrant in this country.
Lindy, I've got to wrap it up.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You should not be committing any crime.
Oh, well, I agree with that. But what I would.
Yeah, but people commit crimes. That's not the point. God, all they can do is propagandize and lie.
Say is the one thing I would like as part of all this. I would like someone like me who's lived and worked in America and has a home there for 20 years now. I would like to be described as something else on my visa other than exceptional alien. I think there's something very unfriendly about the description of me as an.
I'm not for nothing. Maybe this isn't even like that relevant or important or whatever, but I do want to point out that Hitler actually called undocumented immigrants there, let me rephrase. He actually called immigrants, quote unquote, the Jews. He called them aliens. That's the word that Hitler used for the Jews. He said they were aliens. I mean, I'm not saying that Piers Morgan is Hitler. He's not. He's not even a Nazi. I don't believe that. But they're adopting language that is similar to, and in many cases identical to, Nazi language.
Which is probably because Trump adopted it first knowingly and then spread it.
Yeah, that should raise people's eyebrows, right? Yeah. We should be a little concerned about that one.
I mean, I like to think I'm exceptional. It's the word alien really pisses me off.
Yeah, it should. Alien should upset you. It was used by Nazis.
You're my favorite exceptional.
Can we all
people say it was a whole anti-Jewish thing. Really, it was an anti-immigrant thing. It was all about immigrants in Germany. They didn't belong there. They were aliens to the area. We needed to make it pure again because they were poisoning the blood of the country. Identical to what's happening right now in every way.
I agree that you could have more friendly terminology for people like me. Thank you.
That's for sure.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah. Unless you're from Mars.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate the panel, and to Rudy, who came and went like a ghost in the night, but it was great to have him. Thank you all very much.
Anyway, yeah, tell me what you think about it in the comments. That's actually really interesting. People are psychotic. It's just sad.